Okay, can everyone hear me? I believe that we are now live. Thank you so much for everyone who is here. I'm super excited. I was just refreshing the page and I saw that there are a ton of comments already, so that's really awesome. So hello everyone, my name is Autumn Bernier and I am the founder and CEO of Skill Crush, and I would just like to thank you for coming today's webinar. I'm so excited to have you, and we're going to be talking about a lot of really interesting stuff. Today's webinar is all about how you can break into technology, and more importantly, how you can really use technical skills to work for you, because that's really what it's all about. I don't want you to work for tech, I want tech to work for you. And we're going to be talking about how you can break into technology even if you have no computer science degree, no time, no money, and no smarts. As I like to joke, this is truly a foolproof way to break into technology and make a career change. Even a fool could do it. And of course, that is me being a little bit glib, because I do not think that you're a fool. In fact, I know that you're not, because you're here at this webinar. In all seriousness, before I begin, we have a little bit of housekeeping, and then we can get started. So I'm going to switch to my presentation, and hopefully you guys will all be able to see it. So just give me 1 second. Okay. Oh. And of course went right into full screen mode, which meant it was impossible for me to show it to you. Here we go. All right, now we can all see the presentation. So, you're here for one simple reason, and that's because you're ready to make a major career change and you want to learn what options you have. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today in today's webinar. So throughout the webinar, I'm going to be asking questions. I'm going to be answering a lot of questions, and we're going to be doing some audience participation. So I really, really, really want to hear from you. I want to make this as interactive as possible, and I really, I have an agenda for what I want to talk about today, and I've got some great information I want to share, but it's really important to me that I'm addressing the topics and questions that you have, because that's the most important thing. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please write a comment in the Facebook comment section right below the video. And I'm going to do my best to answer as many of them as I can throughout the webinar. I do want to try to stick to time, or as close to as possible. So if we don't get to your question, just rest assured that me and my team will be going through the comments and questions after the fact and answering any stragglers that did not get addressed. So please ask your questions. So in addition, I want to let you know that a lot of you have taken the Discover Your Tech Type quiz, and I'm going to be sharing the link if you have not. Actually, I think somebody on my team is going to share the link in the comments so that if you haven't taken the quiz, you can take a look at it. And throughout this, I'm going to also be referencing some of what we learned about you guys from the data that came out of the quiz. So I'll be referencing that throughout the webinar. So if you hear me talking about a quiz, that's what I'm talking about. So to begin, also, sorry, very, very important before I ask you to do something for me, I want to let you know that we're actually going to be hosting a giveaway during the webinar. So to enter the giveaway, you just need to post on social media with the hashtag #DiscoverYourTechType. And you can tweet, Instagram, Facebook, any of your takeaways, any of the things you're learning, any of the things that you're thinking about, really anything totally applies. And we will be giving away a blueprint before the end of the webinar and making that announcement during the webinar. And then also, just so you know, at the very end, we are going to be sharing with you guys a very special bonus offer that's only for webinar attendees. Stick around until the end of the webinar to learn about that offer and how you can take advantage of it. to begin, I'd really like you all to introduce yourself. So I'd like to hear from you. Where are you joining us from today? And I saw that a couple of you guys have already jumped in. That's amazing. So happy to have you. But so tell us, where are you joining us from today? What makes you interested in technology? What brought you to this webinar today? And this gets into what we're going to be talking about next, which is what is one thing that worries you about getting into tech? Love to hear from you. I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to see who all is here with us. Oh, awesome. I see Tanya is here, and Chris, and Angelique, and Jennifer, and Jeremy, and Steph, and Bettina, and Felicia, Katrina, Maureen, Charity, Missy, Heather, Priscilla, Kathy. This is so exciting. I absolutely adore meeting you guys. I see that you guys are already getting into it and sharing lots of information. A lot of people are sharing what tech type they discovered that they were by taking the quiz. So that's really fun. We're going to be talking a lot more in detail about those tech types. So yeah, okay. Very, very cool. What we're going to learn in today's webinar. First, we're going to talk about how to overcome your fears about breaking into tech. So yes, we're going to start by talking about fear, which is probably no one's favorite topic, but a good topic to talk about nonetheless. Fear is something that we all face on a regular basis, and especially when we're doing something new. So I like to talk about it right off the bat. We're going to talk about how to find a tech work arrangement that fits your life. And I just really want to emphasize this point. I'm going to be emphasizing this throughout the webinar, which is just to say that, you know, technology is really a tool, and I really want you to think about it that way. And it's a tool that you can use to change your career. You know, this isn't about you fitting into some sort of predestined mold of, you know, being a hacker or, you know, I think we all come to technology with a lot of preconceived notions about what it means to work in technology. And my goal for you is, if you take away nothing else from this webinar, is that you really take away and internalize that it's really not about you sort of like, you know, squeezing yourself like you're a little square into a round hole of technology. It's really about you thinking sort of creatively about how you can take advantage of this amazing tool that we now have available to us, because we're lucky enough to live in the 21st century, and use that tool in some crazy, you know, way that we can't even imagine yet, to create a career and a life that you really love. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about all about that. So we're also going to talk about how to avoid becoming frustrated and overwhelmed when you're just getting started. And I think that my solution to this is going to surprise you. So I'm excited to see what you all think of it. And then finally, I'm going to talk to you about 5 steps that you can take today to break into tech. And these are just 5 easy things that you can do right after this webinar or later today to just begin to transition into really taking action. Because I know that a lot of us, you know, when we're thinking about something like this, like a career change or a location move or anything that we feel is like really big and scary, it's really easy to spend a lot of time learning and thinking about stuff and not necessarily taking action. So I just, you know, one of the things that can help with that is small little bits of action. So I'm going to refresh the page and see what all everyone's saying. Is anyone brave enough to share what scares them about getting into technology? Let me see. Ooh, I see one. I'm going to take the presentation off. So I see from Bethany that she says that cool. So she says that she's worried about how to begin, you know, and how to make sense of new systems. Let's see if there's anyone else. Yes, Priscilla is saying she's worried about, you know, not having enough time for her little one. That's super important for sure. Worried that it'll be too difficult. Ruchika, and I'm so sorry if I am getting your name wrong, but she's concerned that she's too old. Let's see what else. Yeah, these are all really, really common and understandable fears. So I totally understand. Laura's basically just worried that she doesn't know enough and that she won't be able to learn it, which I think is very, very, common. Stacy says that she's worried about joining a field that is heavily male dominated and not being taken seriously as a woman. I think that's very understandable. Okay, cool. All right, very cool. All right, so I really appreciate you guys for being open and honest and sharing with us. I hope I hope that if nothing else, you guys see that you're certainly not alone in having fears and concerns. I think often in these situations, we can feel like, we're alone in the universe and everyone else has all their stuff together and it's just us that doesn't. So I really appreciate you guys being honest and sharing. Okay, so let's get back to the presentation. All right, so we're gonna the very first thing I want to talk about is fear. So, and it's gonna be fun, I promise, guys. So fear number one. So basically, when we did the quiz, we did this multiple choice question, and we sort of had some common fears that we laid out. Hear from students time and again. And it's not obviously all inclusive, but I think that for a lot of you, these are going to resonate. And what was really interesting for us in terms of the results was that there really wasn't a clear winner, which was a little bit surprising. I think that we might have thought that there would be a clear winner, but really it was pretty distributed. So fear number one that we hear that a lot of you guys have is that I'm not smart or talented enough to learn tech skills. So what is this fear really all about, right? And it's this fear that like you don't have what it takes, that you need a fancy degree and you need to be like a complete math brainiac. And you have to be one of those people who picks things up really naturally. Otherwise, there's just no hope for you. You're not even going to be able to learn the programming language, much less like figure out how to get a job, much less like convince someone to give you a job. So like this idea that you could ever, make income as a technologist with technical skills is like completely ridiculous, right? That's the first fear. The second fear, which is related, is I'm too old to learn tech skills and make a career change. So what's that really about? That's sort of, I'm too old and it's too late in my life and career to learn about technology. I'm too old to make this kind of massive change. There's so many aspects of this. Like some of it is about learning, okay, I'm too old. I didn't grow up with this stuff. So I'm not as, I'm not kind of a digital native. I haven't had as much practice. I'm not as comfortable with computers and technology as younger people. Also, I'm going to, go places and I'm going to be the oldest person in the room and people aren't going to take me seriously. They're not going to see me as somebody who's capable and hip and like with the new trends. So all of those things, right? Am I missing anything? Please, if I'm missing anything about these fears, please share with me in the comments. So fear number 3 is I don't have time to learn a new skill. So this is also, they're all related, right? So learning to code is hard and I don't have time to do it. I'm too busy. The demands of everyday life are too much. And I think this is really premised, like this fear is really connected to this idea that it's too hard and I don't have what it takes. Because if we believe that it's really easy to learn these new tech skills, then it's going to be no problem. Oh, I can do it in 5 minutes a day and it'll be fine. But obviously we all believe that it's going to be really hard. And so given how hard it's going to be, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have time to devote to learning the skill that I need to. I think also this also sort of, there's another aspect of this fear, which is like, not only will it be hard, but it's not going to be fun. Right? Because like if something's fun, you make time for it. Like you make time to watch your favorite show on Netflix, or you make time to spend with your family. And those things are fun to make time for. But like if something's hard, even if there's payoff, it's like you're not going to make time to do it because it's painful and we don't like pain. So and the last one is fear number 4, learning to code is expensive and I need to make money fast. And, I think really what this fear is about is like, I'm going to invest my time and money in a class, and at the end, I'm not even going to have enough skills to be able to make any money. And it's just going to be sort of like, you know, all in all, it's just going to be this demoralizing, I'm going to spend all this money and time, and I'm just not going to get anything out of it except for like lower confidence than I currently have, right? Does that sound, do all those sound, have I captured the fears, do you guys think? I'm going to refresh the comments and see if you guys think that I have. Jennifer says, yes, you're right about the fun. Yeah, cool. See that a lot of people are feeling like, yes, I'm not going to be smart enough. That is a big one. See another one about not having computer science. Yes. Roz saying it just all scares me. Okay. And she's been stalking, or she or he has been stalking Skill Crush for months. Well, I'm so glad that you made it to this webinar. Okay, cool. So now we're going to talk about how to address these problems. Are you guys ready for my solution? So there's a really awesome book that I read recently, and it's called The Tools, and it's by these two very crazy, sort of zany therapists who work out of California, and they're very Southern California. And I'm originally from California. I live in New York right now, but you know, it's like you can take the girl out of California, but you can't take the California out of the girl. And so anyways, they have these sort of tools that they teach all their clients. And one of them is called the reversal of desire. Basically, the premise of this tool is that, you know, as human beings, we don't like pain. Most people don't like pain. And because we don't like pain, we do a lot of things to avoid pain. And the problem with that kind of behavior is that it keeps you, you know, like basically anything that's new and challenging and probably worthwhile involves a certain amount of pain. And pain can come in many different forms. It can come in the form of fear or discomfort or, you know, just any of that stuff. And so basically, the purpose of this tool is that instead of avoiding all that scary stuff that could potentially and probably does cause you pain, you're going to trick yourself into wanting those bad. And that's what they mean by the reversal of desire. So it's a totally self-helpy solution, but it is really, really effective. And I think especially it just is really, really good at making you kind of taking what seems really scary and sort of making you laugh at it. So I really want to walk you guys through it. So like I said, you know, we all as humans, unless you are absolutely superhuman, in which case you should leave us a comment and then you should do the next webinar because I would love to learn from you. We all really like to avoid pain. And the problem with that is if you avoid pain all the time, you end up just, what that really means is you end up staying in your comfort zone. And what that means is that your world ends up getting sort of smaller and smaller because we face pain all the time. I mean, just honestly, like getting out of bed sometimes is painful, right? Like sometimes you just want to lay in bed and be like, I'm comfortable here. If I go out of my bed, it's going to be cold. I'm going to be tired. You know, for me, like I have to get up and get dressed and like leave the house and get on the subway and it's like really packed. Like that's totally a painful experience, right? But obviously if I have to like go to a meeting or like, you know, do something like that, I have to face that pain. You know, that's the risk of avoiding pain is that you end up in your comfort zone and you don't really, you know, you certainly don't make more money and you don't get new experiences and all that fun stuff. So what you got to do instead is you have to you just have to hit that pain and you have to like hit it head on and run right through it. And if you do that, you can sort of enter the realm of endless possibilities. And in this context, of course, we're talking about the endless possibilities of, you know, like working remote or making more money or having a job that you're more excited about. Like there's so many possibilities when it comes to how you can leverage technology skills to improve the quality of your life and your career. Like it's it is really, truly wide open ocean, blue waters. I mean, I can't even begin to express to you like the endless possibilities that are available to you. But in order to access them, you do have to go through this pain. And that pain is really all this fear that we're talking about. It's the fear that I'm not smart enough, I'm not young enough, I'm you know, I don't have time, I don't have money, like all of those uncomfortable feelings. And, you know, as they teach in the book, like pain is really what sets you free. So how does this work in practice? So let me give you an example of how I use the reversal of desire in my life. So I don't always love to exercise. And, but I know that exercising is good for me and it's a stress reliever and I get really good ideas. But even though I know that rationally, like pretty much in every single moment where I'm really faced with the choice of, do I keep working or do I keep watching TV or like, you know, eating cookies or whatever it is that I'm doing, or do I get up, put on my workout clothes, like get myself out of the house and like endure a workout. And pretty much no situation is it going to be less painful for me to go running than to do whatever pleasurable activity I am doing, right? Like it always involves pain. And when I'm sitting there and thinking about it, I'm like, ugh, running is so terrible. Like I get so tired and like, oh, that feeling where your legs are like 25 or like, I don't even know, 200 pounds each. And like, you can just like barely move them and it just like feels terrible. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have ever gone running, but if you have, I hope you know what I mean. Sometimes if I've like eaten too recently, I'll get really bad heartburn, which is really uncomfortable and that's miserable. Sometimes I feel really weak. Like I'll get, like if I haven't eaten enough, then I'll get dizzy. And afterwards, I can have really terrible and sore muscles, or like even worse, as soon as you have sore muscles and you're running on them. And basically, like all these horrible possibilities of what could happen to me if I go running come to mind. Sweaty, it'll be really hot. It's just like miserable. So what I do, according to the reversal of desire, is rather than say to myself, you know, I like, no, but it'll be worth it. Like rather than try to talk myself into how not painful it's going to be, I just have to look at the pain and be like, you know what? Like I want to be tired. I want to feel sluggish and terrible. You know, I want heartburn. I hope I get heartburn. I love it when I feel weak and slow. Like that's the best feeling. And, you know, I hope I get terrible sore muscles. And there's something about this that's so funny because it's just like, even as I'm doing it now, it's like, it's just so, and it just brings like a sense of levity to the thing. And it kind of like, it like diffuses all those scary things. And I find it to be incredibly effective. So, and then, you know, I kind of have to laugh and I have to look at how I'm like resisting doing this thing I know I should do. And then usually I, you know, put on my workout clothes and go outside. But what's really great about this is that it works in the moment too. Because what'll happen then is like 5 or 10 minutes into my run, I'll be like, oh, so unhappy. Like I'll be like so hot and miserable and I'll be like, why did I do this to myself? I think there's also something about running in particular, and I'll stop talking about running in a second, but you know, where it's like really miserable at first. So when that happens, I like continue to do this. Like I say to myself, you know what? Like I wanted to be hot. I wanted to be miserable. This is exactly what I wanted to do. This is exactly how I wanted to feel. Like this is working. And it is amazing in terms of working. So back to this issue of learning new technical skills, what I would like you guys all to practice with me is rather than try to convince yourself that, you know, that you are smart enough, which I will do next, saying, you know, let's talk about how, let's be like, you know what? I can't wait to feel stupid. It's going to be amazing when I start to learn a new coding skill and I cannot make heads or tails of it and I'm totally confused and it's really annoying and I spend hours banging my head against the wall because that's exactly what I was hoping would happen. Or you can say to yourself, you know, I am too old to learn technical skills. It's just going to be amazing when you know, I try to like learn it and I can't figure out any of the technology because I've never used it before because I'm old. And I can't wait when I like don't understand any of the references of anything that anyone's talking about because I'm too old. I can't wait when I go to an interview and, you know, the interviewee is like 30 years younger than me and then references how I'm like, could be as old as their grandma. That'll be so much fun. I can't wait until nobody takes me seriously because I am old. What other, can you guys help me here? Like, what other things are you super excited about with regards to, you know, being too old and learning technology skills or trying to make a career change? Marina saying the reversal design could get me to run. It's miraculous. Yes, yes, give it a try. Okay, so another one is I don't have time to learn a new skill. You know, you could say like, oh, like it'll be, it's going to be so fantastic when I'm like, you know, wanting to spend time learning and I just can't ever fit it in. And it's like every day I'm like, oh, I want to do this thing, but like I don't have time for it. Like I don't even have 5 minutes. Like that'll be just, it's like just what I need is one more thing to worry about every day that I'm not accomplishing. That's what I want. I hope someone can join in with me here in the fun. How about I learn to code is expensive and I need to make money fast? Well, you know what would be amazing is if you, if I like spent like a couple $1,000s on a class and like didn't even finish the class. That would be like the best thing ever. Or if I like took out a loan to pay for a boot camp and like didn't get anything out of it, that would be, you know, such a fantastic experience for me. That's exactly what I'm hoping will happen. What other crazy things can we, what other horrible, you know, terrible things can we, you know, desire? I see a good one from Priscilla, lack of support. So like, let's say you know, I can't wait to take an online class and try to figure something out and not be able to figure it out and not find anyone who can help me and just spend days, maybe weeks, maybe months trying to figure out like a simple thing, but not being able to because there is nobody in the universe who can help me. So Brian is saying, I worry about the time-sensitive nature of a new job. I understand that this is part of the process, but how patient are employers with the learning curve? How much should I know before having the courage to step out that door? Well, this is a great one, Brian, because let's say, you know, like what, you know, let's imagine a situation like, let's just say like, like you want to know the answer to this question and you're like, okay, I think it'd be really great for me to get a new job and find out that I don't know enough and that the employer is not going to let me have the time to learn the new skill. Wouldn't that be a great thing to have happen? So obviously I am being facetious in saying that these things are great and we don't really want them to happen. But I think that what happens when you reframe things this way, you start to realize how the truth of the matter is that these things are not as likely to happen. It's not likely that all of them will happen, certainly, right? Like I think that when we're sitting there and feeling afraid of something in our heads, like all of the fearful things are going to happen. But that's not the reality. And second of all, you realize like, okay, like, yes, that would be a bummer, but you know, it's all stuff that you can handle. So let's just talk really quickly about facts and then I'm going to get into the meat of what we're all here for. So you do not need to be a genius to work in technology. It's really all about your portfolio. You definitely don't need a computer science degree. In fact, the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually, you know, we'll talk a lot. They often talk about how web development in particular is a great skill, even for people who don't have college degrees. It's really about knowing the skills and being able to prove that you have the skills. And you know, the other thing you have to realize is what's happening in technology right now is just so great. And it spans so many industries that having experience in another industry actually can be a huge advantage. You know, this worry about I'm too old to learn new tech skills. You know, the truth of the matter is that older people fall out of touch with technology because they don't use it. And that is really, I mean, that's really the only thing that is at issue. And learning tech is a great way to stay on top of new developments. And what we really see with Skill Crush is that we see a range of students of all ages who are, many of them are pursuing their second or third or fourth careers and are doing it amazingly well. And in a lot of instances, I think, you know, especially like, you know, this is like obviously a very specific example, but we have a wonderful student who runs a Facebook group called Boomer Entrepreneurs. And I know that a lot of her clients are other boomers. And I think in that instance, you know, that's a huge value add for them, that they can talk to someone who maybe understands their situation, can speak to them in, you know, in terms that they understand and all of those things. I can't fit learning into my busy schedule. So you can learn tech skills on your own time from anywhere in the world. And I think the other thing that's important to know is that learning tech skills can be fun. And I think that often you feel like it's going to be something that is going to be difficult and challenging and hard to convince yourself to do. But actually, what we find is that our students are often have difficulty ripping themselves away from their learning, not vice versa. So that said, you know, all of our programs are designed to be flexible. So we really do design them with full-time people who are working full-time jobs in mind. So, you know, we advise our students to study only about an hour a day at most. And something to think about, of course, is like, how else are you spending your time? So an average person spends about 2 hours a day on social media, not to shame any of you for your social media usage, but, you know, there are always ways to reprioritize our time. Myth: learning to code is expensive. So first of all, there are an enormous amount of free online resources which you can take advantage of. You know, we have a lot of them. So that's really awesome. The other thing is that, you know, like obviously doing something like a boot camp where you're spending thousands of dollars, like tens of thousands of dollars, that can be a little risky. But, you know, if you're going to start making more money, spending a couple $100 or even $1,000 on a new skill is an enormously valuable investment of your time and money. And most importantly, what we really work with our students on is that we work with them to learn how to start making money while they're learning. And we're going to give you more information about how to get a copy of our Code Your Way to 1K guide, which is really specifically all about how to start still learning, which you can absolutely do. And we have helped literally thousands of students do it. And that is an awesome way to start to get a return on investment on the money that you're investing in learning this new skill. So next, I want to talk about your tech personality types. So it looks like most of you guys have taken the quiz, but if you have not, you can go to bit.ly/tech-4-me-quiz. I do believe that this is case sensitive, so you will need to make sure to get these uppercase. And I just refreshed and saw some questions. So I'm going to answer them in a second. But make sure to go and take the quiz. You can take the quiz while we're doing the webinar. It'll only take about 2 or 3 minutes. And I love this. Lisa says she can't wait to feel out of touch with the younger crowd. And I'm so excited for you, Lisa, too. I really appreciate that. So I love that you played ball with me. So awesome. So we're going to talk about, there are 3 major categories of that we have in the quiz, and each one of them has 3 subsets. So I'm going to go over each major bucket and then the subsets. So the first category is the fierce full-timer, and this is a sort of meta category that includes the ambitious 9-to-5er, pragmatic professional, and the go-getter. And this was our most popular tech personality type. Over 50% of you got this one. So how to know if you are a fierce full-timer. If you are interested in working full-time and you want to be on-site, not one-site, well, it could also be one-site, but that is a typo. So I apologize for that. And if you are ready to launch a traditional career in a lucrative industry where you can have maximum impact and do exciting work. So this is totally the kind of traditional 9-to-5, I want to work at a company. I want to go into the office. I want to have a corner office, you know, like I want to have a fancy air-on chair. You know, that's what I want my life to be. I want to be able to, you know, like start as a junior developer and work up to a, a more senior developer, and then a tech lead, and then a, director of engineering. Like if that's the kind of thing you want to do, you want to work on, full-time jobs like this happen across every industry, every type of different company. If you like to get out of the house and have some separation between work and life, and if you want to work with other people and learn from them, those are all great opportunities and things that you get access to as a fierce full-timer. So the benefits of fierce full-timer is the money is really good in these jobs. There's a lot of stability and benefits, right? Like you don't have to, unlike maybe a freelancer, which we'll talk about a little bit later, it's not like you eat what you kill. That, you don't have to be responsible for that. Once you have a job, you're going to get it. You're going to get paid every 2 weeks. That's awesome. And such peace of mind. There's, immense diversity in industry and company types. Like we're still a 9-to-5 world. So this is life for most people who work, and most people who work in technology. So there's a ton of jobs and a lot of opportunity. And this is an amazing path. So a sample career path, if this is the one that you're interested in, is you want to begin by learning sort of the fundamentals of coding and web design and start your portfolio. This process of sort of learning HTML and CSS and some web design skills takes between 1 and 3 months. Then you can begin to freelance, and you want to do that both for experience and cash flow. So here, freelancing is not something that you're doing in order to make your salary, your full-time salary, but it's really something you're trying to do to prepare yourself to work full-time. Freelancing is what we encourage our students to do in order to sort of overcome that issue of, you need experience to get experience. And how you get experience before you get a full-time job is by freelancing. After your first couple months of sort of laying that foundation of skills, you really want to specialize. And this is where you really decide, okay, I'm interested in development, I'm interested in design, I'm interested in Ruby on Rails development or WordPress development or whatever it is that you decide at that juncture. And you really want to dig in and sort of, this is kind of that meaty time where you're like, okay, I'm really going to get the skills that are going to make me employable. After you have really gotten those to a good place, although obviously your learning is never over, but it's really gotten to the point where, to answer this question that Darwin was asking, which is, how will you know that you're ready to start taking job interviews? And I know that's really, really hard. It's really hard to answer. It's hard to answer for yourself. And I think also it's nearly impossible to answer. It's certainly impossible to answer ahead of time. And I think it's also really hard to answer when you, on your own. So this is where I really encourage you to look for opportunities to get support. But, after month 6, like going into months 7 and 8, that's where, what we see with our students is then they're really ready to start applying for jobs and start job searching and looking, to interview and all those things. And you have to remember, going back to this question of like facing your fear versus avoiding it, something that can be really challenging for people when they're just getting out there is that often the first couple interviews are about you learning what they're looking for, right? And getting some feedback. Like every market that you are in is a little bit different, and every job is a little different. Every company is looking for a little bit of different, a different set of skills. And part of the process of looking for a job and interviewing is to learn those things. And often that can come at the expense of a little bit of, that can come with a little bit of discomfort, because of course it's uncomfortable to go into an interview and realize in the process of interviewing that you don't have the exact skills that they're looking for. But what we work with our students to do as much as possible is to really just see that, like disengage not take that as a personal failing of yours, but just a learning opportunity. I'm always saying this to students and they don't often listen, but I hope you do. And then what we see is like, within 9 months or so, it really is possible to land a job. And we're going to be talking about some examples of students who've done that. So the second most popular Oh, actually, sorry. First, I wanted to talk about some fierce full-time job postings, and these are real postings that are available to you that you can apply for, and I can actually open them up. So we've got a web developer at Lewis Communications that's in Franklin, Tennessee. I mean, this is another amazing thing is like you can find these jobs everywhere in the country. There is an entry-level WordPress developer at Launch Digital. Is that what it's called? Yeah, in Illinois. These are all entry-level jobs that you would be qualified to apply for. 401k plan, those are awesome benefits. Peer-to-peer bonus program, stocked fridge, yum. I'm like, I want a stocked fridge. Where can I get that? These are entry-level jobs that you would be qualified to apply for after, 6 to 7 months of learning. And we have a junior front-end web developer position, and this looks like it is in Detroit, Michigan. I love that these jobs are all over the country. So yeah, there's really so many jobs to apply to. And we're gonna be sharing all these links if you wanna take a look at them afterwards. So I want to tell you some fierce full-time stories. So these are stories of students of ours who have come through the Skill Crush program, learned skills, and then landed full-time jobs. So Sarah is an amazing student of ours, and she took the WordPress Bootcamp. And if you guys are not familiar, the WordPress Bootcamp is one of our offerings where you take 3 blueprints. So it's a 9-month program. You do the front-end developer blueprint, then the WordPress blueprint, and then you do the visual designer blueprint. And she used her skills to start freelancing in design and development right away. And then she landed a job at Brickswork, which is a real estate digital marketing company. She got a junior front-end developer job, and she got it before she even finished her boot camp, which is amazing. And she's super happy and working full-time at this amazing new company. And I actually have their, I think it's just Brickswork. There we go. Yeah, it's a really cool real estate marketing company. It looks like they build websites, and they are based somewhere in Canada. I'm not sure where. But anyways, very exciting. Very cool job. All right, so now let's talk about remote warrior. So this is our second most popular quiz personality type, and this encompasses a number of different results, including the digital nomad, the conscious coordinator, and the do-it-all remote warrior. So I saw a couple of you guys writing in comments that those were the ones that you guys got. Or if you don't want to be tied to an office. Maybe you want to work from home, or maybe you want to travel and be able to work anywhere in the world. And you want to work for a company, but still have control over your own life outside of work. So in this instance, we're not talking about people who want to be freelancers, because that is a whole different thing, right? We're talking about people who are looking for full-time jobs, but you're looking for a full-time job that's going to be flexible and particularly flexible on location. So you don't have to show up to the office every day. And other terms for this are distributed companies. So we actually here at Skill Crush, we are an all distributed or remote company, meaning that we do have an office here in New York, just because I'm based here in New York. But our team works from all over the world. And we're structured to work that way. So the benefits of being a remote warrior is that you get a lot of the benefits of working full-time. You get good pay, stability, and benefits, but you also get the benefits of not working in office, right? So you don't have a commute. You can often, have flexibility. So maybe if you have a family, you can sort of mold your job a little bit more to work around your schedule versus, vice versa. You have the freedom to travel and work at the same time. Granted, sometimes that's not the best because, as I like to joke that, there is a time over, I was in California, so I was in an earlier time zone, and I took a phone call from bed, and I was saying that the best part of my job is I can take a phone call from bed. The worst part of my job is that I can take a phone call from bed. So, obviously there's pluses and minuses to this, and it's, you have to get really good at having boundaries between work and life. But anyways, you are able to, sort of work from wherever your computer is and really just work on your own time. So those are all the benefits of being a remote warrior. And a sample career path here is really, really similar to what we're talking about with the full-time job, right? So you're going to want to learn the basics and start a portfolio. You're going to want to start making money freelancing. You're going to want to specialize in a career path, and you're going to start the remote job search interview process. I just want to give a small caveat, which is that there are fewer remote companies, so it can be a little bit harder sometimes to find a remote job. And, you know, that is just one of the challenges of looking for this. Just, you know, for better or for worse right now, more and more companies are sort of accommodating remote workers, which is really amazing. And I hope that more continue to do that. But you know, we still live in the world of the office culture, so a little bit more sleuthing to find that remote job. That said, there are awesome places to look for remote work, and actually we have a lot of information on our site about how to do that. But some examples of you know, full-time and part-time remote work jobs that we found from a simple search was this front-end designer at Bandzoogle, which is a company that builds tools for bands. And these are all, you know, like jobs that you could apply for. Action Verb is hiring for a designer also. And then we actually found this really great part-time job for Modern Tribe where you are offering WordPress technical support. And this is a great example of a job that you could definitely apply for. And, you know, maybe like if remote is a must-have for you, a part-time job could be a great way to build up some experience. You could sort of supplement your income with freelance work in the meantime, continue to look for more full-time jobs, or perhaps, depending on the opportunity, you may be able to transition into a more full-time job. I'd like to share with you some remote warrior stories of real students that we've had that have transitioned into remote work. So an awesome student that we have named Taya is how she says it. Sorry, I apologize because I have a friend named Taya, and so I get confused. So Thea is amazing. She lives north of San Francisco, and one of the things that's happening in San Francisco right now, because San Francisco is so crazy and so overcrowded, is that commuting into the city has become a nightmare. So she lives outside of San Francisco, and trying to commute to the city just became completely untenable for her, especially once she had 2 kids. So she was working in digital marketing and realized that she was really going to you know, like being able to add coding skills to her resume was going to make a really big difference. And we actually have a really amazing video with Thea on our homepage. Sorry, not on our homepage, on our Skill Crush Reviews page if you haven't seen it already. But talks so much about fear, which I really, really appreciate. She was really open and honest about that. But anyway, so she took our front-end developer blueprint, and then I think she was like halfway through her WordPress developer blueprint, and landed a remote job with the global fundraising team at Wikimedia Foundation. Actually, I was talking to her recently, and she was telling me all these hilarious stories about all the testing that they do with fundraising. So what she's really doing is sort of, she's like, I don't know what the exact term would be, but she's, you know, like a software developer who's working on the site, but specifically working on optimizing their fundraising stuff. And that's because that's part of her background is in fundraising. And she's so excited because she's able to skip the crazy commute to San Francisco. She still is making really good income. And she just really, you know, the thing that she's always said over and over again when we've talked to her and, you know, asked her, what would you want to share with other people? It's just that she says, you know, when you learn to code, so many doors open to what's possible and so many ideas bubble with these endless possibilities. And, you know, she just really, really encourages everyone to get out there and just like explore and find out. We have another student who was a former pastry chef, and she really wanted to change. We'll talk about like an industry that's really not about technology. And she was really excited because she landed an internship while still in art class, working with the marketing design studio Numi, and is working remote. And she's also able to work a lot fewer hours because I don't know if you know this, but pastry chefs work crazy hours and still make a decent amount of money. So it's really awesome. So the last bucket, major bucket, is the freelance boss. If you got the results, digital entrepreneur, freelance hero, or tech trailblazer, then all of these apply to you. So you're a freelance boss if you're interested in starting your own freelance business. You want to be in total control of your work, your clients, your location, your calendar, and your personal and professional life. So the benefits of being a freelance boss: you set your own rates, which means you can decide how much you make. You choose which clients and work to take on. You are your own boss, meaning you do not have to answer to anyone, no TPS reports, nothing crazy. You work on your own time, and you can have no commute unless you want to commute, in which case you can commute to your heart's content. The purpose of, the whole point of freelancing is that you can really do whatever it is that you want. So a sample career path, as we've talked about, is, it's very similar, except for the big difference here is that instead of beginning to look for a job in months, 6, 7, and 8, what you're doing instead is you're just continuing to increase your rates, find new clients, get new work, get more experience, and on and on and on, and we have an enormous amount of resources for everyone who is looking to, figure out how to take sort of freelancing from being this thing you do on the side in order to get experience to really making a full-time income. Freelance job postings, junior freelance designer at the Symbiont Group, making $30 to $50 an hour. So these are great, rates. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to compare your full-time salary to a hourly one, but that's if you are billing 40 hours a week, that is $100,000. So that's a really good amount of money. Simple WordPress site projects. So, that's a great one if you're just starting out. And then a WordPress front-end developer at Emory Day. And sometimes as a freelancer, you can actually sort of get the best of both worlds, where you can actually go and work as a contractor for a company full-time, but you're not kind of locked into it forever. So some freelance boss stories. We have an amazing student named Anne, I believe. She's Belgian, so I don't quite know how to pronounce her name. But she started using her skills that she learned at Scale Crash to start freelancing before she even finished her blueprint. She freelanced on the side for a year, and then was able to sort of build up enough freelance business to go full-time freelance. And one of the things that's really remarkable about her story is that she actually was able to go full-time freelance because she got a client who paid her enough money for 2 days of work a week that it matched what she was making before. And so she said, she was able to make her living in 2 days a week, and then sort of the rest of it was bonus. So that was a huge improvement to her life. I want to take a quick moment and check in on everyone and see what you guys are all saying. I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to speed through the last 5 things. There's some questions about where to find work. And yes, and where to find these listings. So we have a lot of information. Also, Mohammed is saying, I can't really afford to quit working at my current full-time retail job and focus solely on learning technology skills. And I just want to say, we totally understand, and our program is very much designed for people to not quit their full-time jobs. And Emily's saying, totally, even as a 9-to-5 employee, you can still find companies that offer opportunity to work remotely. That's absolutely true. And I think also something we didn't really talk about is that there's also hybrid options, right? Like, it's not all freelance or all in the office. There's definitely companies that are more and more open to you working from home a couple of days a week and then coming in a couple of days. So those things are really, really good. Andrea is saying that she's going to check out the tools book from our local library. That's awesome. I love that book. I think you'll really enjoy it. So guys, I'm super excited. You guys are amazing and totally all about facing your fears. So to wrap up, I want to talk about 5 free and easy steps that you can take today to explore a career in tech. And I also just wanted to remind you guys all that we're going to be sending you guys an email. You're going to get these slides. You're going to get links to all of the job listings that we featured, plus more information about, like guides that we have and websites and just all of that stuff. If you're interested, and of course, if you have any more questions, please just. So number 1 is, one thing that can be really fun and motivating is to find some jobs that you're excited about, right? Like, I think that when you can look at something and say, like, wow, like, I would love to work for Lewis Communications. Like they do really cool full service advertising. And like it's, you know, I think looking at jobs is so great because you look at something like this and you're like, okay, like this is a very clear list of things that that you need to learn. And maybe you don't understand what all of these are yet, but that's okay. You can like totally, like if you go find a job listing here, this is my offer to you guys. You look around and you find a job that you think is really interesting and you see that, you know, it requires these skills and you don't really understand what they all are, just copy and paste that into an email, send us the email at hello@skillcrush.com, and we'd be happy to explain to you what those skills are and how you can best learn them. And if we don't teach them, we will totally give you resources for other places that do teach them. Because I think this is a great way to think about we have a really cool guide called The Ultimate Guide to Turning Your Passion into Profit. And that's really about sort of thinking creatively, again, back to our sort of what I said at the outset of this webinar, this thing of, you know, I really want you guys to start to see technology as a skill that you're going to put to work for you. This is about you figuring out what you want. What's going to get you excited? What's going to like allow you to make the kind of money that is going to, you know, sort of fuel like all of what you're hoping to do, whether it is travel or, you know, send your kids to college or buy a house, you know, whatever it is, you just have a, you know, a huge retirement account, you know, whatever it is that you're thinking about. And think really creatively about the skills that you already have and the passions that you already have. And I would wager that for there are ways for you to marry design and your existing passions in a way that can make you money. And if you have questions about that also, you can either hop on chat and chat with one of our career counselors, or like I said, email us at hello@skillcrush.com and we would be so happy to brainstorm with you ideas. Another great resource is we have a blog post called 10 Tech Careers You Can Get Without a Degree. So those are all examples of careers in tech that you can have even if you don't have a computer science degree. Step number two is learn the lingo. So as you've seen with all this stuff, and I've thrown some of it around today, there is a lot of lingo when it comes to tech, and that's something that can make it seem really scary and hard to understand. But it's just, it's really like, we're talking like 50 terms, and you can totally learn them. We have a really fun and free 10-day email bootcamp that you can enroll in. If you go to our website and just click the free 10-day bootcamp link at the top, you can go ahead and sign up for that, and you will learn most of the important technical terms that you need to know. And we try to make it as fun as possible. I think it is quite fun to learn them. So I encourage you guys all to sign up for the bootcamp if you have not already with all those terms. You need to learn what skills you need, right? So, you know, that's something that, like, if we had another hour for this webinar, I would really want to dive in deep with you guys about exactly what skills to learn, what order to learn them in. But unfortunately, we don't have time for that today. But we do have this amazing guide, which you can absolutely download and get a copy of. And it goes into all of that information in much greater detail, and then also tells you where you can learn those skills. Figure out a timeline that works for you. So, you know, you can start to research the average timelines. Like I went through them today. We tend to, you know, what we see with our students is that like a 9-month timeline is very realistic in terms of really learning some important skills and starting to get, you know, some good work experience and be able to start to apply for and land a job. We have some great calendars for that. That will help you with that. We're also happy to talk to you, and, you know, our career counselors can absolutely work that out with you and sort of set forth a plan. Number 5, find out how to earn while you learn. Because look, here's the bottom line. Like, we're in the business of making you money. And yes, like when you sign up for a Skill Crush class, obviously that costs money, but our goal for every single one of our students is that they have made back the money that they have invested in their course by the time their course is over. And we have thousands of students who have done just that, who can prove that it is possible. And if that's really important to you, we would love to work with you on making that happen, because it's absolutely possible. I think it's 100% what we are all about you doing. Yeah, and I want you to do that. I mean, I want you to make literally like 1,000 times the amount of money you ever invest in learning a new skill. There's no reason that you shouldn't do that. So if you have any more questions, please put them in the comments below this video. I do want to, before we are done, excuse me, sorry. I want to talk about the very special offer that we have for you today, which is that if you would like to sign up for the WordPress Bootcamp, you will get a free Building Your Freelance Business course in addition to the, I believe it is 10 classes that come as part of the bootcamp, and the bootcamp is by far our best deal. You get a $200 discount off of what you would have to pay for all those classes otherwise. Plus, you're going to get an extra class for free, which is another $175 value. So really, you're getting almost $400 of free courses if you sign up for the bootcamp today. And I also believe that my team, I think that we are going to be able to announce who the winner is of the blueprint. So I'm going to get that information and get it to you guys. In the meantime, at the questions and see if you guys have any questions that I can answer. So I'm very excited to announce that Jessica Territz is the winner of our free blueprint. So congratulations, Jessica. We will be reaching out to you and giving you instructions on how you can get your free blueprint. So I'm excited for Jessica. So Christopher's asking, how do we get in touch with a career counselor? So there are two ways to do that. One is there is a chat live with a career or blueprint counselor. You'll find it on the bottom right of the very screen that you are looking at. You can pop it open and start chatting right away. That's one option. The other option is to email us at hello@skillcrush.com. And we will also answer your questions via email as quickly as you can. But I think chat is a really great option because you actually just talk live to the person and can go back and forth, and you tend to get a lot more done quickly. Christine asked, would you mind addressing the competition in the tech field? So my presumption is you mean like, how do you compete with other people? And, that is, unfortunately, it's not a question that has a simple answer, but a lot of it has to do with building your portfolio, making sure to really understand the context that you're applying for, right? Like, I think that the times when it's hard to compete is when you aren't, when we're looking for a new job candidate and the person doesn't sort of personalize their response to us. That's the way that's like, a lot of these things are really straightforward, and it's just about taking the time to really do your homework and make sure to prepare the best application. And of course, obviously working your network and networking and all those things. And I know, networking is a whole other topic that we could do a whole series of webinars are on, and we have a lot of resources on that topic. If you want to search our blog, just search networking. But the truth of the matter is that I think something that is hard to appreciate at the beginning of your journey is that you really will build up your network very naturally. Like, I find that, building up a network is something that comes over time. I think that when you don't have one, it can feel really daunting. And you're kind of like, how will I ever get one? And where do I begin? And all those things. But if you just give it a little patience, I find that you'll sort of often look back and be like, oh crap, like now I know all these people. So that's awesome. So Caitlin Bowers says that she loves the 10-day bootcamp. I'm so glad that you liked it, Caitlin. Is there a quiz to help choose the blueprint that's right for us? There is, and actually if you talk to a career counselor, they can point you in the direction of that. Also, the career counselor can help you with all of that. In Skill Crush hiring, we're not at this exact moment, but we often are, so definitely stay tuned. Our next course enrollment, Jocelyn's asking about that, and our next classes, most of our classes, or all of our classes, start today. So if you're looking to enroll, definitely do it by midnight tonight, because that's when they close. But otherwise, our next batch of courses start in early June. So what else? Stacy's still saying, I'm worried about being able to do it. And I totally understand that. And we're happy to talk to you more about it. But also just remember that, like, it's just a, you know, you have to remember, like, nothing happens overnight, right? And I think that when we have these fears, we see it as this like all or nothing kind of thing, like yes or no. But that just really, you know, life is much more complicated than that, and it's more gray, and that's just not really, you know, it's just not that black and white. Life just isn't black and white like that. So Priscilla's asking, will we need to upgrade our computers, or is what we have will be fine? I presume this means in terms of taking our classes. As long as you have a computer with a browser, and you know, if you're able to attend this webinar, you should be fine using that computer to start learning how to code. And you know, maybe one of your goals can be to make enough money to buy yourself a new computer. Do we have access to a career counselor after completing a blueprint? What's their role in general? So Emily, it's a really great question, and that just depends a little bit on the program that you enroll in. So if you have more specific questions about that, I would encourage you to talk to the career counselor, and they can really walk you through all of your different options, what they look like, and all of that. Roz is asking, which comes first, developing or design? I've read that being an expert in both makes one a unicorn, and that it is almost impossible to be an expert at both. That it's impossible to be an expert in both. People sort of lean one direction or the other. And the honest answer is that either can come first. I think sometimes it's nice to do design first because it sort of allows you some time to like think about things and understand how they all come together. But either one can come first. They're both awesome. I think having a little bit of, you know, understanding of how both work is really going to suit you well, whether or not you become like a full-blown expert in each. Okay. Oh no, Chris said that his audio connection stopped just when when I was answering this question. So the answer is that at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you should be able to see the chat live with the Blueprint Counselor, and you can reach a career counselor that way. All right, so we are totally over time. We're talking to you guys all. We would love to see you in our programs. We have a ton of different blueprints. Please, if you have any questions, please, you know, post them here on the Facebook comments, or you can talk to our career counselors. We'd love to, you know, just talk to you about any concerns you have, help you in terms of, you know, facing that fear and entering the world of endless possibilities and then figuring out which possibilities make sense for you. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we look forward to having you in class. And I'm just going to oh no, where do I find my my little window? Here we go. Yes, I just want to do this on camera, which is just to say that thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I hope that it helped give you some perspective on what it's all about to, you know, use tech skills to work for you, not vice versa. What it means to break into tech, you know, that everyone feels scared about it, but, you know, fear and taking advantage of all of the amazing opportunities that are available for you. So anyways, we are here to help. We have an enormous amount of resources on our blog. We're going to send you a bunch of links after this webinar. And of course, the career counselors are always here, either via chat, or you can email us at hello@skillcrush. And we hope to see you in class, hopefully starting today, and if not, sometime soon. All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.